Welcome back to Biz Talk, and if you have any comments, you can email us at biztalk@panama-tv.com, or you can tweet us at biztalk502, or you can call us at 0326937008. And today we're talking about healthcare innovations, and we still have Mr. Leonard De Cruz, the Managing Director of Soma Medical, Sedia Pahang, and we have another person here, and I will let Leonard introduce him.
Thank you. I have here with me my dear friend and also our clinical consultant that advises us on what kind of IAQ solution protocol that needs to be installed in a clinical environment.
Okay.
He's also got his own practice. His dental practice, and he's a surgeon. And one of our first installations were actually done at his clinics. Yeah, right. Exactly. And so I felt that he would be the best person
to talk about
it and explain it in detail.
Right. And Dr. Yogesh, probably your a little bit background on yourself and your experience with the Soma Medical equipment.
First of all, thanks, Ms. Leonard, for the humble introduction.
Okay.
And I'm very excited and truly honored to be on the show today.
Okay.
All right. Basically, as you're aware, I'm the consultant health practitioner for Soma Medical, Malaysia Berhad, and together with my partner, Dr. Firdaus Hanapia, okay, we actually run a private practice at Bangsa Dental Specialist Center, okay? And in this facility, we actually run and carry out a wide range of dental treatments. I'd like to show you some of it, actually what we actually do. One of the most, we carry out procedures such as general dentistry, cosmetic dentistry. This is actually my frontier that I'll be showing you in a while. And most importantly, we actually do a lot of invasive procedures, oral maxillofacial, oral maxillofacial surgeries, implants, and these are a few of the photos and pictures. If you can have a look, the surgeries that Dr. Firdaus and I have done together. A few of it, okay. This is actually a fracture wounds. Yeah, so there's a lot of invasive procedures happening in our clinic. Okay. At a more moderate level is actually what I do. It's basically smile designing, so people with bad teeth before and after, you can see the difference right there, right? Okay, and all the others, gum treatments. Okay, you can see the person's gums are barely infected, and we'll talk about gum treatment and how IQA actually helps in producing a very good result. Environment and a very clean environment for us to actually carry out these treatments up here, right? So all that. So basically, this is what we actually do back in our practice.
Right.
Well, due to the nature of our job, the invasive procedures that we actually carry out requires us to have a very clean and, if possible, sterile environment.
Okay.
This is to ensure a very good after treatment results.
Yes, in short.
And no post-op infections, complications. Now, not just because we have to do a very good procedure and using all these sterile equipments. The air that's around us is pretty much important, and we take strict measurements when it comes to infection control to ensure that the treatment that we should do have good results and the patient comes out without any post-op complications.
Right. And after you use some of the equipment, what is your experience with it?
That's a very interesting question. Previously, before we started bringing IQ into our clinic, we had very few, in fact, post-op complications.
Okay.
So we took even more strict measures to ensure that we tighten our security measures when it comes to infection control.
Right.
So we actually use disposable gloves, masks, and trays and beads in order to cleanliness. Okay. Before we go into it, there's maybe two terms that we need to explain a bit more in detail to sort of be a bit more familiar with it: infection control and cross-infection. Cross-infection is the spread of infection from one source to the other. Okay. Infection control is basically all the methods and all the protocols taken to ensure that cross-infection does not happen. Okay. So basically, in our clinic, once we have brought in, we had the IAQA protocol and the solution, thanks to Mr. Leonard, to be installed in our clinic. Our post-op complication had almost gone down to nil. Yeah, and we feel a very big difference in the whole clinic environment.
Okay.
Right. So, well, basically, IAQA has a very big impact, and it not only into the dental industry, but actually on healthcare industries in general. Okay. The reason is, in the healthcare industry, it is important for us to have a clean environment where the air is free of any contaminants that could be potentially dangerous to the procedure that we're actually doing, especially on all the invasive procedures.
Right, operations. Open wounds.
Exactly. That's the reason why OTs have very strict protocols and rules when it comes to it, as how Mr. J. Holman was saying earlier.
Right.
And in that in that text, what you call this, we need to ensure that actually the air is free of all the contaminants, which could not only be potentially hazardous or dangerous to the treatment procedure, but it could infect the patient or even the practitioner himself.
I see.
Now, cross-contamination can occur in 3 ways.
Okay.
Patient to practitioner, the practitioner to the patient, and the patient to the patient. Okay?
Right.
So I'll just give you a brief example as to what's happening. When a patient walks into our clinic and the person comes into the counter, he registers himself, then he goes to the waiting area and sits down there. He's actually mingling with a bunch of other patients who are already sick and they're not feeling well. They come in with their own dental problems, and this does not only apply to dental clinics, to every other health facilities where the sick actually come in and they sit around with the people who are already immunocompromised and they already have an existing infection. The worst part of all is none of them even know that they have the infection, especially when it comes to airborne diseases.
Right.
So from the waiting area, once they have they've been chit-chatting with all the other patients or just sitting there, there's a rapid exchange of airflow in the perimeter itself. So none of them actually realize that there is the microorganisms, when they are released, when they breathe, will not look at, I want to, he's Mr. Lenny, he's a nice guy, I want to attack him, or they will just attack, they look at host, and they will just infect any one of them there. And they'll only develop the symptoms much later. Clearly in an office, when someone has a flu, next month for you, everyone's falling sick in the same place.
Half of the office would have it.
Now same patient comes into the dental chair and we do some dental treatment for him. During our procedure of using the handpiece or the scaler unit, which is a piezo scaler, there's a lot of aerolization of actually the saliva and the blood particles into the air, which very vividly nobody can actually notice it, but if you look at it in a close view, there's a lot of aerolization of the droplets, and they spread and linger around the room. That's how Mr. Leonard has explained. They will take some time to settle down. Now we're not just worried about that, so we protect ourselves with our mask, 3-ply mask. Now there is no evidence to support the 3-ply mask, the one that we probably carry around. This stops us from all the virus that actually comes in.
In fact, in a recent scientific study, to summarize it, they had actually said using a 3-ply mask to protect yourself against viruses is like using a fishing net as an umbrella.
A 3-ply mask?
Yeah,
oh, wow.
it offers very little protection. The public has got this perception that during the haze or during the SARS, if I wear a 3-ply mask, I'll be safe from what's going around. But actually, that's not the case. Because the 3-ply mask basically offers very little protection.
And I think you have some equipment which you used in Dr. Yogesh's clinic.
Basically, when we go into any environment, we first walk in with what we call our CSI kit. We basically do a test of the air quality by using a handheld particulate counter from 0.3 microns right down to 5.0 microns.
Which means?
Which basically means the different levels of contamination.
Size of the particles.
The size of the particle of contamination in the environment. We test VOC levels using our VOC meter, which I explained earlier is volatile organic compound. And we test the O3 level, which is the ozone level in that environment. And we also got 2 other meters which I didn't bring with me today, that is carbon monoxide and carbon dioxide levels. Now, once we show the client basically this is exactly what's happening in your environment right now, no, don't forget it's numeric in nature, so there's no ambiguity. A 5 will always be a 5. And this will give the client an idea, or rather the person we're visiting an idea on how contaminated their premises are. Of course, beyond this, we'll ask them to go and do a pre and post evaluation. We'll suggest what is necessary. In the case of Bangsa Specialist Center, they had done a pre-microbial challenge test. And a post, meaning after we have supplied the equipment, they do another test. Now, when you do a lab test, because it's not numeric in nature as far as using our equipment is concerned, we normally let it be done by an independent party. So there is no interference, no biasness or anything of that nature. And this is basically how we start off by presenting our indoor air quality solution protocol to the client.
Right, and you told me that after you use the equipment, you can actually significantly
see the difference.
See the difference. Not only see, do you see the number of patients that getting what you call it,
post-op complications. I mean, post-operative complications. To start off with, we had very low post-op complications, but upon using IEQA technology in our premises, there was a significant drop to it. Basically, we almost have close to nil complications coming in right now, and this is very necessary in surgical interventions. In any hospitals or in any clinical based premises, it's very crucial that IEQA should be installed in order, and they should understand the basis of how it works. For example, in my clinic, we have basically 3 of the 5 technologies and methods that Mr. Leonard has actually described, which we actually have UVC lights, titanium oxide spray, and together with a HEPA filters, the system which I actually explained to you. Now, that alone is enough to address all the problems that happens actually in the room, because the moment the UVC ray hits onto any bacteria or any virus as a patient walks in or as we are doing our work, the moment it comes out is immediately the ray actually alters the DNA code of the virus or the bacteria. Exactly.
Right.
Yes,
and
so
that's fast.
It's at that level. It's at that level. Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So and we also have another clip, and which is also one of your partners, if I'm not mistaken, Dr. Ranbir Kulsi.
Yes, exactly.
We had a conversation with him via phone, so we have that clip. So let's take a look at that clip right now.
Indoor air quality is extremely important because all issues affecting the various organs I've just spoken about are affected by indoor air quality, especially indoor air quality which is not so good. Now, the importance of indoor air quality is that we spend so much of our time indoors, and of course when we are asleep. Now, a lot of our time is spent either in offices or in various other places where we do rely on ventilation systems which recycles the air that we breathe, and we of course would like that air to be as pure as possible. Now, with all these ventilation systems, we are more affected by the ducting that goes through these various buildings, and of course ducting over time may contain mold, fungal spores, and in some cases even some infectious diseases. Now, if those ventilation systems were to be found in various hospitals, clinics or healthcare facilities, the air might actually be contaminated with various bacteria. So therefore, we need to purify this air as best as we can. Now, we have known for years that ultraviolet rays are known to kill pathogenic bacteria, right from viruses to fungi to bacteria. Now, there are various ways of doing this, and one of the most efficient, as I mentioned, is using UVC germicidal lamps if we don't have the natural sunlight. Now, there is a specific ray of ultraviolet which in the spectrum is very efficient for decontaminating these spaces that we spoke about. Now, we can help to keep your environment and your patients free from various bugs as best as we can, and of course to keep the areas that we live in and work in and function in, or areas that we rely to get better in, as clean as possible. So have a look at our website. We have a host of different systems to decontaminate the air that we breathe and rely on to be as pure as possible. So please have a look at Soma Medical and read about the various technologies that we have developed to keep our indoor air quality as pure as possible. Thank you very much.
Right, and that was Dr. Ranbir Kulsi. He's also the chairman of the World Allergy Organization,
yeah, exactly.
Right, Leonard? And you have another product that you really want to share.
Earlier, Dr. Yogesh had mentioned that UVCs was one of the 3 elements used in his clinic.
Right.
I'd just like to highlight to the public that the different types of UVCs in the market. This is one that you can find commercially available, and this is the kind manufactured by us.
Okay.
Now,
The
we are
difference.
following the guidelines given for medical applications.
Okay.
The glass is supposed to be quartz, and the contact points here are supposed to be made of ceramic.
Okay.
Now, if you find something that looks like this,
Okay.
you know it's an imitation.
Right.
And there are a lot of this in the market at the moment.
Right.
And we have even removed some from medical facilities that eventually found out it's not doing what it's supposed to do.
If it's fake, then why is it why is it so popular and people are
Because
buying it?
people assume that if the light is blue, it must be UVC.
Okay.
Actually, it is supposed to work at 253.7 nanometer wavelength.
Right.
And then the intensity of the bulb comes into play when we are trying to address different pathogens. The guidelines of this are even given by CDC.
I see.
In fact, physically, when you hold it, you can tell the difference between the two.
I held it
Yeah.
before, and it's this one is actually heavier than this one, obviously because of the ceramic ends and also the quartz, if I'm not
it's
mistaken.
quartz glass, exactly.
Okay, and this glass it's like a bulb where you use at home, so you don't feel it's going to work as it is being told.
Exactly.
Okay.
And all this can be tested through a microbial challenge test.
Okay.
That means we can use it in a test chamber,
Right.
and show the difference between an imitation UVC and the ones recommended for medical applications.
Okay, we have to go for another short break, and when we come back, we'll continue discussing this matter right here on Biz Talk.